And we are live. It is hashtag Friday Pie Day. Everybody knows what day it is. Bitcoin is going to 110K. If you want to know why, when, how, all that stuff, we'll talk about it in just a second. I do have a public service announcement. Dude, South Florida's been getting smacked. Anybody that's in the southwestern portion of Florida, seriously, or even in the panhandle from Helene, everybody send your prayers out to them. Stuff's just getting smacked right now. And, you know, there's not really any words to, I guess, iterate the destruction that's happened in Florida lately, just over the past couple of weeks. And potentially there could be more coming. I understand. I am in Southwest Florida too. We are good. And we got relatively little action comparatively to all the destructive places. You know, we had very few casualties from our housing or from our house's perspective, things of that sort. We are not out of power or internet at this point. There's probably tens to hundreds of thousands of people that are and that were. So prayers to them. And everybody just send your love to Southwest Florida and also the panhandle of Florida and then everywhere else that's been affected by the hurricanes. But with that being said, we're going to get into some news-based stuff. We're going to talk about where Bitcoin's going, when it could potentially get there, price targets, all that type of stuff. We're going to do the analysis. We're going to show it to you live here on the stream. We're also going to talk about some of the FBI wallets that just got doxxed. Some big crypto firms, market makers, if you would, that just got smacked by the SEC. How Gary Gensler doesn't think that the cryptocurrency is ever actually going to be a currency. Surprise, surprise, like Gary. Thanks, Gary. And then also how crypto.com is now suing the SEC for reasons that we'll talk about in just a second. But before then, make sure you smash the like button because we're going to talk about 110K Bitcoin and potentially 175K Bitcoin even further and where that could go and why. Okay. Secondarily, make sure you hit subscribe. Boom! Bang on the notification bell. Obviously, this week was terrible for us. So I was not focused on content. I was focused on protecting my family, my wife, my kid, myself, our property, things of that sort, batting down the hatches, proverbially speaking, putting up storm shutters over all the windows and doors and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm not worried about dropping YouTube videos when there is a hurricane coming directly at us. And we'll get to it when we can start talking a little bit of technical analysis on YouTube, things of that sort. So make sure you're subscribed. Obviously comment anything that you want in the relevant sections. Let's bang through the comments section really quick. We've got Jeremiah Keeter says it's Friday Pie Day. Nothing is going to stop a Friday Pie Day, baby. Friday Pie Day is every Friday. Every Friday is Pie Day. We've got Gianni. He says he smells pizza and news. This is my Italian brother. Appreciate you, my man. And all the people that reached out inside of the Discord. And then obviously my family members and friends that reached out to us directly. You know, Sharon Britt actually was one of them that did SQ Blackbird in the Discord. Much love to you all for reaching out and just making sure that everything was good. Everything's fine. You know, no, we came out relatively unscathed. We can't say unscathed, but relatively speaking. Hopefully the pizza shop is still open for your Friday Pie Day. I believe ours probably will be. I think a little bit north of us, probably not. I think it's going to take a few weeks for them to get back to a state of normalcy, which kind of mucked up my family's plans as well to come down here and see us over the next couple of weeks, which sucks, but you know, hey, it is what it is. And you live to fight another day. And you know, your family's always going to be your family. They can come see you some other time, right? A couple weeks from then. We've got the braids for days, Richard 4. You know what time it is, and maybe some laughs. Yeah, it is pie time, man. We had a hectic week. We've had a kind of turbulent week in the gold and the crypto markets, as well as just from a weather perspective here. Mother Nature's throwing everything she can at us. Bam, bam, bam. Florida, South Florida getting smacked. But yeah, it's been a week. So yeah, it'll be nice to unwind with my family, have some pie. One day we'll look back and laugh about these things. And that's good because we're all still here. And that's essentially what matters. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk about this crazy thing that the FBI, the SEC, all these different agencies just did, because this stuff was absolutely nuts. And let me just pull up the, whatever it's called. Where's it at? Boom. All right. So let's share the screen. Bam. All right. You're going to see the Discord for a second, and then we will get into the actual stuff. Okay. So this was pretty crazy. The SEC, the FBI, and the Department of Justice coordinate all together the takedown of some fraudulent crypto firms. Some of these you're going to notice. You're going to recognize some of these, especially these guys right here. CLS Global, you probably recognize them. GotBit Consulting, ZM Quant Investment. I don't recognize them, but I assume that they are pretty decent sized if they're getting looped up into this. So basically, what happened is the FBI, the SEC, the DOJ, whatever, they created like their own fake kind of crypto coins to see if they could catch people in the act of pump and dumps, catch people in the act of doing all of these like fraudulent things. Apparently, they caught them, right? And so all of these three firms are apparently like market makers. And they said that GotBit Consulting's marketing director, his name's Fedor Kedrov, they're accused of market manipulation. They charged all three of these firms plus 9 individuals. So it's not just the firms that could be potentially going down for this. Obviously, this is all alleged. This is all accused until they're, found guilty, whatever, right? But basically, they were saying that they were participating in wash trading and then also trading on behalf of individuals promoting cryptocurrencies called Saitama and Robo Inu. Okay. And if you don't know what trading is, it's basically just trading that's trying to essentially create the impression of market interest. So you're pumping it yourself, selling it, buying it, selling it, buying it, right? Yeah, those this is a pretty coordinated operation. Apparently, these crypto projects were organized by Vi Pham, a Vietnamese citizen that lives in California, and she was charged separately with unregistered securities offerings, fraud in selling all of these different securities, fraud in purchasing or selling securities, things of that sort. And then the DOJ, the SEC, and the FBI, they basically investigated these couple of different offerings, right? And they've also created their own crypto coins to rope people in that we'll talk about in just a second as like straw men that would actually stop people or that would actually draw people in to do fraudulent activities. So then 4 other people were charged with it. And then the other 2 firms, which was ZM Quant and CLS Global, were also charged, and they face basically the identical types of charges of fraud, wash trading, buying and selling securities, all this, rigmarole stuff. They said that this Fedor Kedrov is in Russia. But so good luck getting a hold of him, right? And then the ZM Quant executives named in the suit live in London and Hong Kong. Hong Kong might be a little harder to get than a London-based individual. So, yeah. This is what they said, though. The complaints seek permanent injunctions, conduct-based injunctions, disgorgement of allegedly ill-gotten gains, plus interest and civil penalties against all of the defendants, as well as officer and director bars against certain defendants. They basically all got blacklisted. You can't ever do anything ever again, and you are popped in 100% capacity. Then I want to show you this. I thought this was even wilder. This got doxxed just the other day because apparently the SEC or the FBI doxed their wallets. And J. Connor G. Rogan is the one that kind of broke this. But he said, shortly after deployment, the wallet that seeded the FBI wallet deployed capital to multiple other wallets, making dozens of trades, and FBI wallets own at least 75% of the token supply, from what I can tell. These are on the tokens that they were saying that they were essentially trying to create to make people essentially do all these fraudulent things, to bait them into doing these fraudulent things. So if you happen to give a F, go and check this out, and you can find the list of all the FBI doxed wallets, right? Then we have the SEC getting sued by Crypto.com after receiving their legal threat from, obviously, the SEC. And I know there's advertisements and stuff popping up on the screen. They're super annoying, but whatever. So essentially, the SEC came after crypto.com a while back. If you didn't know that, hopefully now you know that. But crypto.com then in turn has now filed a lawsuit. This was like 2 or 3 days ago, basically against the US Securities and Exchange Commission. And they're alleging that they were overstepping its jurisdiction by regulating the cryptocurrency industry, which, I mean, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. That's to be determined. But securities laws are pretty cut and dry in the United States, and I know they're based on outdated principles backing from the 40s, right? But at the end of the day, it's like, are you buying and selling coins with the expectation of profit? It doesn't matter the instrument. It could be a coin, it could be a, whatever, right? Be a stock, could be a bond, it could be whatever, right? You can regulate these things to a certain extent. But this is in response to a Wells notice that the SEC had sent crypto.com a while back. We'll see how that plays out. I think everybody is going to, and myself included, is probably going to be rooting for crypto.com in this. And just as we were with everybody rooting for Coinbase, just as everybody was rooting for Ripple and Ethereum and all of these different companies and or platforms and or coins that were taking action against the SEC, I'm glad that there's some individuals, some parties, some businesses, platforms, coins, foundations, whatever you want to call them. I'm glad that there's some that are big enough with the legal power, the monetary power and influence, and social influence for that matter, to be able to go out and actually hold these guys accountable and say, hey, you can't just do whatever you want. Whether they're right or wrong is to be determined, right? The SEC or the defendants, right? But I'm just glad that there are people out there that are big enough to kind of push for this type of change and say, hey, this is a familiar market, but it's not the exact same market. So different principles, different rules, different regulations, different stipulations may apply here. And I think, in my opinion, and probably in their opinions as well, this is something worth bringing up and potentially pursuing to make sure that we have the right regulations, rules, and stipulations in practice sooner rather than later. So I think this is great news, in my opinion, at least, that some of these larger companies are taking action. Coinbase, crypto.com, Fodem, right? This is what we want to see. Okay. So I do think that that is good news. And then you've got, your old buddy, old pal, Gary, coming in saying some other stuff. And that's always fun. I love seeing his thoughts on things. So let's see what Gary said. It's unlikely this stuff is going to be a currency. I don't know if you can see my face whenever I did that, but he said, with all due respect, the leading lights of this field in 2024 are either in jail or awaiting extradition right now. Okay, we get it. You're talking about like Do Kwon. You're talking about SBF. You're talking about some of these guys from these different, companies that went bankrupt and stuff like that and weren't doing really good with the custody of people's funds. That doesn't mean everybody. Just because some couple of people took their power and then essentially made it and took it out of context, like SBF, like Do Kwon, and we're doing all of these different things like CZ, right? Doesn't mean everybody's doing it, because for every single person that you say is, like, for lack of a better word, a douchebag in this market, there's like 10 others that aren't doing that, right? Not every large exchange has gone down. Yeah, FTX went down. Okay. Binance got hit. Okay, cool. What about crypto.com? What about Coinbase? What about Kraken? And yeah, Kraken got their little suit that they settled for like $10-15 million, bing, bang, boom, whatever. Okay, cool. But are they frauding people? Are they wash trading? Are they blatantly outright stealing from people, running Ponzi schemes, running scams, right? Are they doing outright illegal things, or are they doing things within the bounds of what they think is acceptable, because nobody knows what is going on in the friggin' markets right now, because nobody sets any friggin' rules for anybody, right? And you say, oh, well, you should regulate on the same level as a stock exchange, right? When it's not stock, right? And some coins don't necessarily have tangible value like stocks do. They're not linked to a company like with dividends and profit shares and things of that sort, right? So it's not necessarily fair to say, yo, you guys need to operate in this exact same manner. And like I said, the Bybits of the world, the KuCoins of the world, not everybody is out here frauding everyone, right? So even though that might be the case with a couple of people, there's for every one person or one, platform or company, there's also 10 more larger scale ones that aren't doing that. So he basically said that it's unlikely that Bitcoin or other cryptocurrency widely be used as a form of payment and instead will continue to be seen as more of a store of value. Okay, cool. I know a lot of places where you can actually use Bitcoin as a form of payment right now. That's not facts, Gary. I also know that it's part of Trump's big push right now to take the U.S. Treasury and own a certain amount of Bitcoin to back the US dollar with, right? And they're probably going to do it with gold as well. Okay. Because we understand that the fiat system that we have right now usually only has a shelf life of about 100 years before it crashes out if it doesn't have something backing it. And let's be real, the only thing that's backing our US dollar is our military, our warring Navy ships, right? And are just, absolutely monstrosity of like basically floating cities that can take out and topple entire governments by themselves. That's not necessarily backing anything, right? It's saying, hey, we are a military superpower and maybe we should be the global superpower in terms of currency, but that's not actually, there's nothing actually backing it. If it was backed dollar for dollar by gold, dollar for dollar by Bitcoin, that's real backing. And there's a reason why that was set up a long time ago. So I don't think that he is on point with that analysis is my point. So, you can have your own opinion. That's just my opinion. You can do with that information whatever you want to do. And, we'll just take it from there and move forward. And that's that. So I do want to do a little bit of analysis really quick because I know I kind of probably piqued a little bit of, people's interest whenever I came out and said, 110K Bitcoin, right? How, when, how sway. So let's get into it. Let's show you exactly what I mean. And then you can tell me your thoughts in the comments section. Let's go. All right, let's share the screen. I'm going to give you my bias. Okay, I'm going to give you my bias. This is going to take a few minutes, so make sure you're dialed in. Make sure that you aren't watching this on 2x speed because I already talk fast enough. And make sure that you're really taking this in and understand my opinion and bias behind it. And then build your own. You don't have to take my word for it, okay? So here we are. We're on TradingView, right? I want to show you what the previous bull run did. I'm talking back in 2016, not 2020. We're talking 2016, 2017 bull run, okay? That's where we went right here. This is a Fibonacci that is drawn from that previous bull run to the top, which was 20K, right? We measured from the bottom, which was right around the $400 or $500 range, all the way to the top, which that $400 or $500 range was like the previous all-time high, okay, before we got into this bull run. If you look at what happened after that, okay, a little bit, where did we go? We went all the way up here. We came back. We pulled back. We literally went down to right around the 0.236 fib, right? And we kind of used that as support here for quite a while. And I'll zoom in just a little bit so everybody can kind of follow me. All right. So this is going to get wild. You see that we use that as support here, 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 here. And then we broke through it. Okay. And we came back down to like $3,000 level. But then we capitulated for quite a while. We bumped back through it. We went back up to the golden pocket, which is the 0.681. Okay. And if you don't believe me that that's the golden pocket, let's scroll over here. Boom. 0.681, right? Golden pocket. Then we bounced off of it yet again. Okay. Came back down, tested the 0.236 as support. All right. blasted back up to the golden pocket, used it as resistance again, came down to the 0.5, and then blasted through. Okay. Where did we go from there? Well, if you zoom out, show you exactly where we went. This is the 2.618. This is the 3.618, the purple line. And then you've got the pink line way up here, which is the 4.236, right? This is how you measure where you could be potentially going. And then obviously this blue one is the 1.618. All right. So where did we go from there? Well, we blasted through the 1.618. We got about halfway there. We came back down. We used it as support. All right. Did we wick down a couple of times below it? Absolutely. We hit the 50 moving average. If you look over here, you can see that blue line right here is the 50 moving average. Okay. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see. Bounced off the 50 moving average. Okay. Went back up, tested, blasted through the 2.618. Okay. Came back, used the 50 as support, rode the 50 up, reclaimed that 2.618. Came back down, used the 2.618 fib level and the 50 as support. Blasted up, went almost about a little bit over halfway to the 3.618 right here at about 65K. Came back down, started losing it. Big shift. Boom. We had a nice little drop, right? This is where we set a new all-time high. You can see we were incredibly oversold up here with the stochastic RSI, all that stuff. Boom. We fell through. We lost the 50. The 50 started to curl down, and then we saw a death cross right around here, but we had already reacted to it here. Then what did we do? We came back down to the 1.618, used it as support, bounced. Boom. Came back up to the 2.618, came back down. The RSI kind of whipped up a little bit right here, and then bam, we blasted through it, went up almost exactly to the 3.618. Okay. This is when we hit the previous all-time high of 69K back in November of 2021. Then what happened? We fell back down to the 1.618. We retested the 2.618, couldn't quite get there, tried it 3 different times, right? Tried it back here actually, and it hit as resistance. So now we know this is massive resistance. Came down here, fell back through, went to the 0.786 right here, and used that as support pretty much the entire way. Okay. And then bam, came back up, retested the 1.618 2 different times, tried to fall back down to the 0.786, did not get there, not even close. Boom, blasted through, went up, hit the 3.618, and then fell back through, tested it as resistance 1, 2, 3, 4 different times again. Used the 2.618 as support 1, 2, 3 more times, and that is here we are now. Okay, so what do I think is going to happen? That is the overarching analysis that you needed to see that is building my directional bias, okay? This is where my price targets are going to start coming in. Now, if you go up and you see where that 4.618 is, okay? It's right over here. I know this is a massive fib level, and we got to scroll hella far to find it. We've got 83K. That is like the upwards extension of the 4.236, not 4.618. That's my bad that I said that. So what we're going to do is we're going to move this off, and we're going to go to the 2020 bull run. Okay. And we're going to do the exact same thing here. We're going to zoom out, and you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. Let's get over here so you can see the entire chart. What happened? This is the low. This is the high. Okay. We took the same exact approach. All right. We drew the low down here right around about the $4,300 mark, $4,500 mark. And then we brought it all the way up here. Okay. There's 2 different ways you can do this. You can either draw it from the low right here, or you can draw it from the previous all-time high to the new all-time high. Okay. They both kind of line up pretty substantially close to each other. Okay. So as you can see, the level that you're looking at is about 99,000 from this range. If you just pull the fixed range from the low to the high, or from the previous all-time high to the new all-time high, and that's about $98,000. Okay. I think it's going to be more around this range, which is where you pull it from the low all the way up to the high. That could take us to about $109,000. Okay. What exactly happened in this range so far? Well, we came up, We hit the 0.786, right? And now we have blasted through it right over here. And we're using the 0.786 as support, just as we were in that previous one that I drew in 2016, okay, in a 2017 bull run. Now, where could you see this going? Well, if we go up to the 1.618, you could see it coming up somewhere in the $109,000 range. Or if you want to be extremely, and in a very healthy manner, conservative about it, you're talking $98,000, $99,000. Okay. And then the 2.618 is at about 147 if you take it from the previous all-time high to the new all-time high. And if you take the full range, which is the low to the high, you're looking at $174,000 Bitcoin. This is where you could see it going after it smashes through that first Fibonacci level, which is the 1.618. We haven't even come close to that yet. Okay. So once we hit this, you're going up to the 2.618. This is a long-term trade. This is not something that's happening tomorrow. I want that to be 100% and very abundantly clear. Then what is the next level after that? It's about 240 at the 3.618. And that is where we would probably top out, is probably somewhere in the 220 range, because I don't think we get all the way up to the 3.618 immediately, right? Now, if we want to take this extremely conservatively, we can go, our first price target is about the 100K range, 99,000. Second price target is 147, and the 3.618 is right around 195, which I would say it's not probably going to hit there. It's probably going to hit somewhere in the middle of the 2.618 and the 3.618, which is why I think it could be right around $174,000. So that is going to be your high level kind of overview of where I could see Bitcoin going in the near term. Well, not the near term, but I'm saying in like 2025. Like, this is future. And if Bitcoin does that, where it hits like a 2 to 3x, you're going to see alts hitting 10x's, 15x's, 20x's, some of those lower hanging fruits, like outside of the top 100 and 200. Those alts could be doing 100x's, 200x's if Bitcoin does indeed get to at least that $99,000 level, and then potentially that $140,000 to $175,000 level that I think that we could hit, because that's essentially a 3x from here. I don't think there's anything less than a 2x from here. When you're talking about into 2025, leading into 2026, at the end of the bull run, you could see that top starting to come in, and you can't predict this. That's why I say, here are the price targets. First off, you want to be super conservative. You've got $99,000, right? That's your first 1.618 Fibonacci level. If you want to be super conservative, again, 147,000 is where the 2.618 is, okay? Then 195,000 is where the 3.8 is. And even if you only hit halfway through there, you're talking about 170, okay? So that's why I think Bitcoin's probably going to hit about the 110K range nearer term, right? Before it hits obviously to the, $140, $170,000 levels. And then we could see it run up. Historically speaking, that's what we see happen in the bull runs. It goes up past the 2.618 level, which would be bare minimum 147,000. But if you draw it from the low to the high, the all-time high, you would see it actually being at about 174,000. So there's a lot of confluence that is happening. You're going to want to watch your RSI. You're going to want to watch your stochastics, right? You're going to want to watch your momentum. You're going to want to watch your MACD, the volume that is coming in. What is happening in the world, okay? Because there is fundamental analysis that has to go into this as well, okay? And you're going to want to take it for what it is at the time. I'm not saying wait until you hit $170,000 to sell your Bitcoin. If everything on the chart is telling you that 110 is the top, take your profits. If everything on the chart is telling you, no, we're going to blast through that 100 to 110 level and move up to the 2.618 fib level at 147 to 174, maybe take some profit off of the table at that first level, the 1.618 that I just laid out. And then your next price target is a little bit higher, right? Take it for what it is at the time. Don't be married to a certain price point. Take what the charts and what the markets are giving you when they give it to you, because what's going to happen in 8 months? I don't know. In 8 months, maybe we hit 110K. But is that the top of the bull run? You don't know that until you get there, right? Could it continue to run for 4 more months after that and potentially go up to 140, 174? Maybe, but you won't know that until you get to that point in the charts lifespan, right? And you have to look at the price action and the indicators when you're doing that. So with that being said, take all that for what it is. You can, kind of develop your own trading strategies from there. Do your own DCAing if you want to. And, take your own take profit levels. Do your own analysis. Tell me what you think in the comments section. I may take it serious. I may not. You may agree. You may not. I may agree with what you say. I may not. Doesn't matter. There's a million other ways to get to and do the things that we were just doing. But from a high level perspective, one of the easiest ways to do it is through a mathematical calculation like Fibonacci sequences. Okay. And you saw, historically speaking, the way that those Fibonacci's played out and those levels were upheld as supports and resistances and price targets in the previous bull runs. So with that being said, hopefully everybody has a good #Friday Pie Day. Hopefully that was helpful to people. If it was helpful, man, give me a like on the video. Give me a subscribe. Boom. Bang on the notification bell. Comment what you think in the relevant sections. I appreciate it. Everybody have a good weekend with your beautiful families and have a good #Friday Pie Day. Prayers to all the people in South Florida. Much love, and I will see you next week. Peace.